MWENDA is giving out another school of thought on the ongoing saga of Anita Among, the former Speaker of Parliament. MWENDA is coming out to say that Anita Among is arrested and persecuted because of her presidential ambition. And that may have some iota of truth, which I'm going to explain in this video. Because very many people are coming out to say that the persecution, there are very many people who have stolen in this country and have not faced the same humiliation. And when I say these statements,
I believe that on the one hand, President MUSEVENI found it necessary to clip Anita Among's wings because she had grown very powerful. On the other hand, okay, let me put this way. President MUSEVENI found it necessary and was seeking to clip Anita Among's wings because she had amassed a lot of power and influence within both NRM and the government that I suspect, this is me second reading MUSEVENI, he felt he was going to pose a threat to his power over time. On the other hand, you have General Muhoozi, who is hostile to public corruption, but also public displays of ostentation and luxury. So the two pursuits converged on one single individual, Anita Among. So let me give you a background. I wrote an article in the Independent on the 21st of March this year, saying the following things about Anita. First of all, she's a highly skilled politician. She came not from NRM but from FDC, joined NRM in 2021, and she has achieved almost absolute mastery of parliament. If a free and fair election had been held or was held in that parliament today, she would get maybe 485. We had calculated 485 votes out of 529. So only about 40 to 43 MPs will not vote for her. That is one. Two, because of her role as Speaker of Parliament and therefore Chair of the Appointments Committee, she had built a very powerful influence within the judiciary. Hardly could anybody go with a case in the courts and defeat her. Three, Anita Among had built a power base among Ugandan elites in the religious institutions, the mosques and the churches, in the business community, in the professions, and in politics. These ministers, you see, like the Omara. So Omara maybe has a daughter or a nephew. She would use the influence in the parliamentary commission to ensure that they get jobs. And parliament in Uganda is the highest paying institution, more than the private sector. So she was giving people jobs there. And critically, she joins NRM in 2021, and in 2025, 5 years later, she decided to run for vice chairperson, national vice chairperson of NRM women on the women's ticket against Kadaga. Kadaga had been in NRM since 1989. Kadaga had been speaker for 20 years, 10 years as deputy speaker, 10 years as full speaker. They go neck to neck in the campaign. Now, let me give you a background of how you are elected the national vice chairperson women in NRM. One, you have to have all LC3 chairmen, all LC5 councillors, all LC5 chairmen and chairpersons for that matter. Then you have to have all mayors of town councils, cities, and municipalities. And then you have to have these leagues, the youth league, the women's league, people with disability, then veterans, then the elderly, then women. It is such a huge constituency, and so they go neck to neck. And this is Anita Among capturing the infrastructure of a party called NRM. She beat Kadaga by 93%. The day she beat Kadaga by 93% gave me a signal that MUSEVENI cannot tolerate this.
That is unremaining. First of all, I also think that the war on corruption is getting weaponized. Truth is, Anita Among was corrupt, okay, failed the August House, that is Parliament, poor administration, corruption, etc. Because that has been in the public fora for the longest, when he's siphoning a lot of billions. But the way how the fight against corruption is being done, it looks like it is being weaponized against very many people. How can you tell me that you indict the Speaker of Parliament and you leave her deputy, Thomas Taiwa. Yet during the parliamentary exhibition, we used to see a lot of money being taken by both the two people. You remember the famous generator which was bought. You remember the 2 cars which they were buying. You remember the increase in per diem, which didn't follow the due procedure. So for me, I think, one, they are doing the right thing to fight corruption, but we must make sure that it is not weaponized to an extent that the CDF can come out and publicly comment on partisan issues of corruption, etc., contrary to our constitution. Okay? If they single out Anita Among only and they leave her deputy, what can bring that? It shows that they are persecuting her because of the presidential ambition. Here in Uganda, okay, having a presidential ambition even within NRM is next to going into exile, because MUSEVENI thinks that he's the only person to lead the country. Truth is, Anita Among had tentacles each and everywhere to an extent that he had captured the NRM neck when he ousted Kadaga. So for me, I firmly believe that they are doing the right thing by putting Anita Among on the spot, but they must stop weaponizing it to become targeted to particular individuals. It's the reason why some allies who are saying no to the MHOS project, even within the NRM, they are being threatened. Kateshumba, etc. When you come out to speak, they tell you we shall come for you because of corruption. In fact, even Joe Sonyo has ever come out to say that Anita Among had some presidential ambition. He said this statement.
You see, I have learned from our circles that Speaker Right Honorable Anita Among Magogo has got presidential ambitions. That in the near future she wants to run for president of Uganda, and that's why she is trying to penetrate all the powerful institutions. She has penetrated the Electoral Commission, that's why she can delete her opponents from the voters register. She has penetrated the judiciary, she has penetrated security agencies, and that's why she uses them to do all manner of things. Because, as I have come to learn, she wants to run for president in the near future. Look, my issue is not her desire to run for president whenever, because if she does qualify, anyone that qualifies, it is your right. In this campaign, in this election, there are several presidential candidates of all manner. So that's not the issue. But you want to run for president and you're behaving this way, in a rogue manner. Because this is rogue, this is mafia style. Totally unacceptable. I hope that the people of Uganda are alive to these realities. Some of these things seem like a movie. I saw a letter written by Mr. Museveni about the violence in the LC5.
That is Jason. So for me, everyone in Uganda should have a presidential ambition. In fact, each and every political player, to reach an epitome of success in politics, at least you must stand as a president, because that is the bar. So if you want to tell me that any person who has presidential ambitions should be fought like that, is the reason why he must continue fighting. NRM has groomed a young lion, and now it is big enough to start consuming each one of them. By the time Genome 7 will go, it will be so huge that it will start devouring them. I keep on telling people that after Genome 7 is gone, or when even is around, the dictatorship will first consume those in the NRM before it consumes those in the opposition. What Anita Among is suffering, that's what the opposition suffer each and every day without even doing nothing. At least for her, she stole money. So for me, I think, one, the corruption may have acted as a trigger. Do you think Genome 7 can jail Anita Among for a $3 billion Rolls Royce when himself, he consumes one Rolls Royce each and every day because General State House consumes $3 billion per day? Of course, there are some underlying issues. I know Anita Among stole primitively, okay, and he was overshowing to the public after stealing. That may have acted as a catalyst, but also there are some undertones of her presidential ambition. It is the truth. For instance, MWENDA said that Genome 7 knew that Anita Among was bringing the Rolls Royce and asked for permission from General Kaguta Museveni. In fact, he has a tape.
Rolls Royce. She informed the president, should I accept it? The president gave her, go ahead, you can accept it. Even though,
you find that credible?
I would not be surprised that if it were true, And Museveni even offered to pay taxes on it. By the way, I should tell you, Museveni is a much more sophisticated political animal than people think. Remember, Museveni is a gorilla. And Museveni, if you want to know him, is like Lucius Cornelius Sulla, an ancient Roman statesman. He's half fox, he's half lion, half fox. But the fox in him is more dangerous than the lion. So,
remember 2024, the president told the world when these accusations emerged, he actually told the world that he is the one who gave Anita the first big cash, 2 billion. Do you remember that? And said, I also gave her 200 heads of cattle. And I've returned to her home in Bukedia, and she now has 2,000, meaning she's a good herdsman. And then the president said, he also gave other people, he mentioned them and said, they don't have those cows. And so, in his view, he said...
So, to continue with my...
So I just want
the point I was making...
to believe that it's possible that the president actually gave a nod that this vehicle... And the president has... You remember when we had a dispute over Chagulani's... Bulletproof? Didn't. Who cleared it?
So anyway, Museveni is a much more sophisticated and complicated personality. That's why he has run this country for 40 years, yet no president had ever succeeded in doing more than 8 years. So what happens is that I think the issue, therefore, was not her wealth, her ostentatious exhibition of luxury living was used, and they predicted it in 20...
That is Andrew Mwenda. If indeed it is true that even when he was receiving the Rolls Royce, he asked for permission, then what is all this fight? So for me, I suspect one. I may suspect that they may want to cut off Anita Among from the speakership, so that, because we are in times of transition, they don't want someone who has a lot of influence. It's the reason why they brought Oboth, who has less influence. Maybe if you also builds tentacles in parliament, etc., he can gain some. So for me, one, I think, bottom line is Anita Among must brought to the book. He was corrupt, inept when it comes to parliament. But also we must draw the line so that the fight against corruption is not weaponized. The moment it gets weaponized, we shall even see culprits who were never corrupt, but because they want to settle scores, they will be bundled together. Because Anita Among is not the greatest money launderer in the country. Of course, since my PRM is truly Mr. Makinde Kabesola Margaret, to this channel, please subscribe, like, and comment so that I'm motivated to do more of such videos. I'll see you on another one. Peace.